The transport ship entered the planet's orbit smoothly. Inside, 12 cadets sat strapped into their seats, waiting for the final drop. Each one had been selected from a different star system. They were the best from their home worlds, the strongest, the smartest, the most disciplined. They wore sleek uniforms with bright symbols that showed their planet's flags. They spoke in many languages, but their translators helped them understand one another. In the back corner sat the only human. His name was Ryan. He wore a simple uniform. His gear looked older, and his face didn't show any pride. He knew the others didn't respect him. They called him Earth Boy or primitive behind his back, sometimes even to his face. Ryan didn't fight back. He just listened. This was a test mission. The idea was simple. Drop the cadets on a wild, unknown world and see how they worked as a team. They were to survive for 7 days, find the beacon tower at the center of the continent, and signal for pickup. They had all the tools, high-tech gear, drones, scanners, and even survival bots. Everything was prepared. Nothing could go wrong. Then something went wrong. As the drop pods launched from the ship, a sudden burst of energy hit the upper atmosphere. A bright orange flare flashed through the sky. It wasn't natural. Some kind of pulse wave struck the cadets' pods midair. Alarms blared, systems shut down, and the smooth glide became a crash. One by one, the pods fell across the jungle, far from each other, scattered like pieces of broken glass. Ryan's pod hit hard. The door was jammed, and smoke filled the small space. He kicked it open and rolled out onto the ground. Thick green leaves covered the forest floor. The sky was a dull purple with 3 moons glowing faintly through the mist. Strange bird-like creatures flew overhead, making odd clicking sounds. He stood up slowly and checked his bag. Half his equipment was broken. His scanner was dead. His comlink didn't work. Map screen was cracked. Great, he muttered to himself. He climbed a small hill nearby and looked out. Nothing but trees and fog for miles. No signal. Lights. No sign of the others. Ryan didn't panic. Sat down, took out a small book from his pocket, and flipped through its pages. It was a survival guide. It's not a digital one, an old one made of paper. He had brought it because he knew something like this could happen. First, find water, he said quietly. He began walking. Hours passed. He found a small stream and filled his bottle. He made marks on trees as he moved, leaving signs behind him. By evening, he found signs of others' footprints, broken branches, even the remains of a flare stick. Soon, he came upon a small clearing. 6 cadets were there, arguing loudly. 2 were tall, insect-like creatures from the planet Grachna. One was a glowing, jelly-like being from the oceans of Philora. The others were reptilian and feline aliens, both looking annoyed. "We need to go north," shouted one. "No, the beacon is to the west," yelled another. "Shut up. You don't even know where we are." They stopped arguing when they saw Ryan step into the clearing. "Oh, look," one sneered. "The human made it." Ryan nodded. "Nice to see you too. Do you know where we are?" asked the jelly being. Ryan shook his head. "No, but we can figure it out." "We don't need you," said one of the Grachna cadets. "We have tech." "Your tech is fried," Ryan said calmly. "Just like mine." The pulse wave hit everything. They ignored him and kept fighting. As the sun began to set, the group grew restless. They had no shelter, no plan. They just sat and complained. Ryan didn't join them. Instead, he picked up a long stick, tied a sharp rock to the end, and made a simple spear. Then he climbed a tall tree nearby, moving slowly but surely. The others watched in confusion. "What is he doing?" whispered one. From the top of the tree, Ryan looked out. He could see the river stretching far in the east. Beyond that, a rise of land that looked promising. Maybe a cliff or plateau, maybe higher ground to get a signal. He climbed down and walked. "Back to the group? There's water that way," he said, pointing. "In a hill where we might reach signal range." No one answered. "We should move before dark," he added, still silence. Finally, the feline alien stood up. "I'll go better than sitting here with nothing." One by one, the others slowly followed. Not because they trusted Ryan, but because they had no better choice. As they moved through the forest, Ryan led the way. He stopped to check for danger, guided them around thorny plants, and pointed out strange animals watching them from the shadows. When they reached the river, he showed them how to boil water using a metal plate from his broken scanner. When night came, he built a fire using dry bark and his own flint stones. The others huddled near the fire, their eyes wide. No one said it. But they were all thinking the same thing. The human had kept calm. The human had found them water. The human had made fire. And maybe, just maybe, the human knew what he was doing. The fire crackled softly as the night settled in. Strange sounds echoed from the jungle, distant howls, hissing winds, and the calls of unseen creatures. The cadets sat close to the flames, their eyes moving from the shadows to the human who now sat calmly across from them. Ryan didn't speak much. He sharpened a second stick into another spear and checked the fire's strength. His face was calm, focused. He looked like someone used to being in places like this. The feline alien, Kira, broke the silence. "Where did you learn this stuff?" Ryan glanced up. "Earth has a lot of wild places. I used to go camping with my dad." The reptilian cadet scoffed, primitive, but no one laughed this time. The group had seen what he could do. And right now, his primitive skills were keeping them alive. By morning, the group had changed. They weren't arguing. They weren't shouting. They followed Ryan as he led them upstream. He had found a trail of broken vines and believed another pod might have landed nearby. He wanted to find the rest of the team. The jelly-like being Vila floated beside him. "You think more cadets survived?" Ryan nodded. "I'm sure of it. These pods are tough. We just need to bring everyone together." "You're not like the others," she said. "No, I guess I'm not." They found the second group around noon. 4 cadets, 2 of them injured. They had tried to move but didn't get far. One had a damaged leg, and another had passed out from a poisonous bite. "They'll need help," Ryan said. "We don't have working medkits," said Kira. "We don't need them," Ryan replied. He knelt beside the poisoned cadet, a bird-like alien named Shar. Ryan tore open a leaf he had collected earlier and squeezed the juice into the wound. It sizzled slightly and Shar twitched. Ryan tied the leg with clean cloth and mixed more plant paste for the fever. The cadet stared in shock. "How? Do you know that works?" Asked one. "Tested it this morning," Ryan said. "I touched a thorn, got a sting. This juice stopped the swelling." He wasn't a doctor, but he paid attention. He watched the animals, the plants, the way the forest worked. He used what he learned. For the next 2 days, Ryan led them carefully through the jungle. They walked during daylight and made camp by nightfall. He taught them how to fish with sticks, how to wrap their feet in soft bark when their boots began to fall apart, and how to keep calm when strange creatures watched them from the trees. The more they followed him, the more the others started. To help, Kira became the lookout. Her eyes were sharp, and she could spot movement before anyone else. Vila collected edible plants and learned how to store water in thick leaves. Even the Grachna twins, who once mocked Ryan, began copying his traps to catch food. They were no longer elite cadets showing off. They were a team. On the 3rd night, a loud roar shook the ground. The camp went quiet. From the edge of the trees, a giant beast appeared. It was covered in black fur, had 6 legs, and long tusks like tree trunks. It sniffed the air and moved. Closer to the fire, everyone froze. "Don't run," Ryan whispered. "Are you crazy?" hissed one cadet. "If you run, it'll chase you." The beast stepped forward. Ryan took out a small pouch filled with bitter berries. He slowly tossed a few to the side. The creature sniffed them, then turned, confused. "I threw more farther." This time, to the trees. The beast followed the smell and slowly wandered away. Only, when the sound of its heavy footsteps vanished, did the cadets breathe again. "What was that?" Vila whispered. "Just hungry," Ryan replied. "Most things in the wild don't hunt unless you act like prey." "You saved us," Kira said, amazed. "We saved each other," Ryan said softly. By the end of the 4th day, the cadets reached a rocky slope. Ryan pointed to the top. "That's the ridge I saw from the tree." We should climb it. If the beacon signal is still working, we'll catch it from up there. The slope was steep. They moved slowly, helping the weaker cadets along. Led from the front, cutting a safe path and clearing loose rocks. It took them all day, but by sunset they reached the top. The view took their breath away. The jungle spread far in all directions. In the distance, a tall metal shape stuck out. From the green tower? The beacon. There it is, Kira said, smiling. We're close, Ryan said. He took out the broken parts of his scanner and began fiddling with wires and scraps. He connected pieces using vines and melted tree sap. Finally, he pressed a button. The light blinked once, then again. A weak signal flashed. Vila gasped. You fixed it? Not fixed. Just enough to send one short ping. The cadets watched as the signal repeated. A message in code alive. Team safe. Location marked. Send rescue. They waited through the night. No one mocked the human anymore. No one gave him orders. No one questioned his choices, because now they knew the truth. They had gotten lost, but the human had climbed a tree and taken command. The morning sun lit the sky in gold and blue as the cadets stood on the rocky ridge. A soft breeze passed over them, rustling leaves below. Ryan was already up, checking the small device he had patched together. The signal was weak, but it kept. Blinking proof they were still alive, and someone out there knew it. How long until they come? Bella asked, stretching her arms. Ryan shook his head. No way to know. Maybe a few hours. Maybe a few days. What do we do until then? Kira asked. We stay together? And we prepare, Ryan said. The cadets had changed. The ones who once bragged about their advanced gear now listened carefully. They respected Ryan, not because of rank, but because he had earned it. And even though he never called himself a leader, the rest had started calling him Commander. Commander, one of the Grachna twins said, there's movement in the jungle. Ryan stood and looked through his handmade scope. Down below, trees moved in a pattern too steady for wind. Something's coming, he said, big, and not alone. The cadets got ready. They had no working blasters, no drones, and no walls to protect them. But they had each other, and they had the knowledge Ryan had taught them. They began setting up traps along the trail pits with sharpened sticks, swinging logs tied with vines, and noisemakers made from stones and hollow wood. They didn't know exactly what was coming, but they weren't going to be caught unprepared. By noon, the sound grew louder. Heavy steps, low growls, snapping branches. The creatures came out of the forest like a wave, four-legged beasts with rough skin and red eyes. They moved fast, too fast. Hold, Ryan shouted. The first trap snapped shut, catching two of the beasts. They howled and thrashed, stuck in vines. More came behind them, and the cadets began, throwing spears, rocks, anything they had. The Grachna twins used their strong arms to swing logs at the attackers. Kira moved like a shadow, jumping from rock to rock, striking fast. Illa stayed near the wounded cadets, ready to help if anyone. Fell back, Ryan didn't shout orders. He moved where he was needed, helping one cadet, warning another. Pushing back the beasts with fire and noise, the battle felt like hours, though it lasted less than 30 minutes. In the end, the ground was covered in broken branches and stunned. Creatures, most had fled. Two were unconscious. Cadets stood together, breathing hard, scratched and bruised, but alive. We did it, Vela said, her voice shaking. We're still standing, Kira added, wiping blood from her cheek. Ryan looked around. Anyone seriously hurt? A few cadets had bites and bruises, but nothing they couldn't treat with the plant remedies Ryan had taught them. They rested that night, building stronger fires around the ridge and sharpening their weapons. No one asked Ryan to lead, he simply did. After dinner, they sat in a circle. For the first time they laughed. The Grachna twin who once called Ryan primitive now asked, You humans always live like this? Ryan chuckled. Not always, but we know how. Your people train for this? Not all of them, he said, but some do. We call it survival. Nature doesn't care about your rank or gear. It only cares if you adapt. Kira nodded slowly. Now I understand why they picked you. Vila leaned forward. How did you stay so calm when we first landed? Ryan stared into the fire. Because panicking doesn't help. When everything breaks, you go back to basics. Breathing, thinking, moving one step at a time. The cadets went quiet. They were learning something no classroom could teach. The next morning, Ryan decided they needed to leave the ridge and head toward the beacon tower. Staying in one place too long was dangerous. They packed what little they had and began moving. Again, this time with discipline. Along the way, they helped each other cross rivers, climb cliffs, and avoid more dangerous creatures. The once scattered group now moved like a trained unit. On the 5th day, they reached the base of the beacon tower. It was tall, metal, and damaged. Vines crawled up its sides, and the control panel was broken. Ryan climbed the tower himself, checking for working parts. The others cleared the base and set up camp. From the top, Ryan saw something far off, a flash of light in the sky. A ship. He climbed down quickly. Rescue is coming. The cadets cheered. Some even hugged.
Father.
Hard journey was nearly over, but we still need to guide them in, Ryan said. This tower's signal is too weak. Using pieces from broken devices and ideas from the others, they built a stronger signal booster. It took hours of teamwork, cutting wires, melting metal, testing energy flows, but they did it. By nightfall, the tower blinked with a new light. The ship responded. They see us, Vela whispered, her eyes wide. The cadets stood in silence, staring at the sky. They had been lost, broken, scared. Now they stood as one. Ryan sat down on a log, tired but proud. Kira sat beside him. You think they'll believe us? She asked. Probably not, he said, smiling. You think they'll give you a medal? Don't need one. Why not? Ryan looked at the others now, talking, laughing, caring for each other, because this, he said, was the real reward. The rescue ship landed the next morning. It came down slow and careful, its engines humming above the jungle trees. The cadets stood in a straight line, silent and ready. Their uniforms were torn, their faces dirty, but their eyes were sharp. And proud, as the ship's ramp lowered, 2 officers in clean armor stepped out. One was a tall insectoid commander from the Galactic Academy. The other was a blue-skinned officer with glowing eyes. They looked around in shock. We expected half casualties, the insectoid commander said quietly. They're all alive. Small drone floated beside the officers, recording everything. The officer stepped closer. Who is in charge during this crisis? For a moment, no one spoke. Then Kira stepped forward. We followed him. She pointed to Ryan. The officers turned to the human cadet. You, the blue officer asked, frowning. We're the lowest ranked. He was the only one who kept us alive, Vila said. The Grachna twins nodded. He led with actions, not titles. Ryan didn't speak. He stood with his hands behind his back, calm as ever. The officers exchanged a look. The insectoid commander tapped on his data pad. We'll review the recordings. All of them. You'll see everything, Kira said. You'll see who. Took command. The cadets boarded the ship slowly. Medical bots scanned them, healed wounds, and gave them fresh clothes. Warm food was served and soft beds were ready. But many of the cadets didn't rush. They helped each other first. Checked on the weakest. They made sure Ryan had a place to rest. Once everyone was safe, the officers gathered the group for debriefing. The room was quiet, the screen above showing highlights from the survival logs. The drone recordings played out piece by piece, Ryan climbing the tree, building traps, healing wounds, and facing the wild beasts. As the final scene played, the signal tower blinking. The cadets cheering, there was silence. The insectoid commander turned slowly. This mission was never just a survival test. It was also about leadership. He wanted to see who could rise in the worst conditions. Most of you come from advanced worlds, trained with top machines, best schools, perfect records. He paused. But it was the human. The one you underestimated. who guided you all through chaos? The screen shifted. It showed Ryan helping Shar, throwing berries to distract the beast, calming the group during panic, and taking the front line every time. The blue officer added, "You were all trained to lead with data." He led with instinct, heart, and reason. Day looked at Ryan. "You will receive full commendation." Ryan shook his head. "I didn't do it for rewards. We survived because we became a team." The insectoid commander nodded slowly, and that, cadet, is what true leadership means. The cadets were allowed to rest for a few days on a nearby space station. They were treated like heroes. Food was free. Rooms were clean. Reporters from different systems tried to interview them, but most of them stayed close to each other. They didn't walk like strangers anymore. They moved like a unit. One evening, Ryan sat on a balcony, staring at the stars. Kira walked up and handed him a drink. "You're quiet," she said, "just thinking." "About what? What comes next?" She smiled. "You think they'll send us back?" "Probably. Would you go again?" Ryan nodded. In a heartbeat, Vela joined them, floating gently. "They're changing the academy program?" "Yeah." Ryan asked. "They're adding Earth-style survival training. No tech, no bots, just instinct." "Good," he said. "That might save someone." On the last day at the station, the Galactic Academy held a ceremony. All cadets stood in front of the High Council. Lights flashed, and the anthem played softly in the background. These cadets, the council member spoke, faced the impossible. Their tech failed. Their training was tested. And yet they returned as one. He turned to Ryan. "Earth Cadet. Ryan, you led not with power or pride, but with care, courage, and cleverness. You reminded us all why heart matters." The entire hall clapped. The sound echoed like thunder. A silver badge was given to Ryan. Not for rank, not for combat, but for natural command. He didn't raise it high, just nodded and placed it in his pocket. After the ceremony, as the cadets walked down the steps, reporters rushed forward. "What's next for you? Do you plan to become a captain? How does it feel to be galaxy famous?" Ryan smiled a little, but didn't stop to answer. He looked at his team. "We're going to eat," he said. "We're starving." The cadets laughed and followed him out. The galaxy could wait, because first they were going to sit down, eat like a family, and talk like friends. The dining hall was full of voices, laughter, and the smell of fresh food. Long tables stretched across the room. Cadets from different species filled every seat. Some had never spoken before the mission, but now they shared stories like old friends. Ryan sat at the end of one table, surrounded by Kira, Villa, Shar, and the Grachna twins. A plate of food sat in front of him, barely touched. He listened as the others talked, laughed, and teased each other. "Remember when Shar fell into the mud pit?" Kira said, grinning. XAR flapped his small wings. "I was testing it." "Screamed like a hatchling," one of the Grachna twins said, laughing hard. Vela floated above the table, spinning slowly. "You all made fun of Ryan's little paper book at first. Now you want your own copies." "Yeah," Kira said. "Those pages saved our lives." Ryan smiled just a little. He still didn't say much. He didn't like attention. But inside he was proud. Not because people clapped for him or gave him a medal, but because this group, this strange mix of beings from across the stars, was now a real team. Suddenly, a beep came from the wall screen. The room grew quiet as a galactic symbol flashed. "Attention," said a calm voice. "All cadets involved in Mission 9X are requested in the main strategy hall." Immediate meeting. Everyone looked at each other. Kira stood first. "Well, looks like the galaxy needs us again." They walked as a group to the strategy hall. Inside, a large screen showed a spinning map of space. Red lines marked a distant sector, and yellow dots blinked rapidly. The insectoid commander stood. At the front, he looked serious. 2 days ago, a training vessel carrying cadets from Sector Delta disappeared in a similar Regent, same system where your mission took place. No response, no signals, Another pulse wave. Bela asked. We believe so. A strange energy field was reported again. Rescue teams can't enter. Their systems fail the moment they cross the boundary. The screen zoomed in on the area. Thick jungle, dark clouds, strange readings. We need eyes on the ground, the commander said. We need someone who's been there before. Everyone turned to Ryan. He didn't move, but his voice was calm. We'll go, the commander asked. Ryan looked around at his team. They all nodded without hesitation. We don't leave cadets behind, he said. The commander gave a slow nod. Then you leave at first light. Back in their rooms, the team packed light. They didn't take much tech. Just basic gear, ropes, knives, and small lights. No drones, no bots, no AI. Just like before, as the sun rose, their transport ship lifted. Off. The jungle world came into view again, wide, wild. But this time, they weren't afraid. They landed near the last known coordinates of the missing vessel. The area was quiet. Too quiet. No birds, no animals. No wind. Ryan stepped out first. He scanned the ground. Broken branches. Burn marks, and something else tracks. Lots of them, not human. They were taken, he said. By what? Vela asked. Don't know yet, but we'll find out. They moved in formation like a trained unit. Ryan led, Kira scouted ahead, Vila floated above the trees to watch from the air, and the others protected the sides. They followed the tracks deeper into the jungle. After hours of walking, they found signs of a struggle, scraps of uniforms, broken gear, and strange slime on the ground. This isn't just a rescue mission, Kira said quietly. Ryan agreed. Something's hiding here. That night, they set up camp in a circle. No fire this time. They didn't want to attract attention, as they took turns keeping watch. Vela spotted movement in the trees. Ryan, she whispered. He stood quickly. Stay low. Figures moved in the shadows, tall, thin, with glowing blue eyes. Not animals, not known species. One stepped forward, holding a cadet helmet. It hissed softly like a warning. Ryan raised both hands. We don't want to fight. Creature tilted its head. Then more stepped forward, surrounding the group. Suddenly, a soft voice came from behind them. They're alive. They're in the caves. Everyone turned. It was a missing cadet, bruised, tired, but alive. I pointed to a cliff not far away. They took us, but not to harm us. They protect the jungle. They thought we were invaders. Ryan looked at the glowing creatures again. They didn't attack. They waited. Can you take us to the others? Ryan asked. The creature nodded once. Ryan turned to his team. Stay alert, but follow me. They moved toward the caves deeper into the mystery. They didn't have all the answers yet, but Ryan knew one thing. This wasn't just another rescue. This was a meeting between two kinds of survivors, and he had to lead them both. The cave was deep and quiet. Small glowing plants lit the walls, casting soft blue light. Strange symbols were drawn in long lines curving across the stone. Ryan and his team followed the tall, glowing-eyed creatures as they moved deeper underground. Vela floated beside him. They didn't speak, but they understand. Ryan nodded. They're watching everything. Learning. Kira kept her hand on her knife. How do we know this isn't a trap? We don't, Ryan said. The missing cadet said they didn't hurt anyone. Let's see. They turned a corner and found them. A group of 6 missing cadets sat beside a warm underground pool. They were tired but alive. 2 of them ran forward and hugged Ryan's team. We thought no one was coming, one said, tears in his eyes. We almost didn't, Kira answered. But our commander doesn't leave people behind. The cave leader, a tall creature with long arms and silver markings, raised its hand and touched its chest. Ryan stepped forward and mirrored the gesture. The creature spoke softly in its language. A few words, but then tapped Ryan's translator gently. It sparked, flickered, and suddenly worked. No harm, the translator said. Protect. Watch. They weren't enemies. They were guardians of this world. They had seen ships fall from the sky, machines cut the trees, drones attack, animals So they acted first, stopping those they thought were a threat. You feared us, Ryan said slowly. But we came to learn, not to destroy. The leader tilted its head. Truth, proven now. Another creature brought forward the broken beacon part from the lost cadet ship. It handed it to Ryan. He turned to Vela. Can we fix it? Vela took it gently, examined the wires. Yes, but we need power. The cave leader pointed toward a glowing crystal embedded in the wall. Energy. With help from the Guardians, Vela and the others linked the crystal to the device. The beacon blinked once, then again. It worked. A signal flew into the sky. Clear and strong. They'll come now, Vela whispered, but Ryan didn't smile. Yet, something bothered him. He turned to the cave leader. What happens next? More ships will come. More people. The creature's glow dimmed slightly. Fear. More destruction. Ryan looked around at his team. Then he stepped forward. Let me speak for you, he said. Tell them the truth. I'll make them understand. Cave leader nodded. When the rescue ship arrived the next morning, officers in armor came out. Fast weapons ready. They scanned the area and saw the glowing creatures nearby. Stand back, one shouted. No, Ryan stepped between them. Lower your weapons. They're not enemies. The officers didn't listen until Vela floated between them and pointed to the beacon. They saved it. They gave us power. They gave us the lost cadets. Slowly, the officers lowered their weapons. The cave leader stepped forward and placed a crystal in Ryan's hand. Peace, it said. Ryan looked down at the glowing stone, then back at the creature. We'll protect your home, he said. I promise. The ship carried everyone back to the Galactic Academy. Once again, the cadets were greeted as heroes, but this time, the story was bigger. The galaxy had met. A new life form, not in war, but in peace. The news spread fast. Its unknown species discovered. Human cadet saves lives again. A second mission proves hard over tech. But Ryan didn't focus on that. He sat in a quiet room with the High Council, sharing everything he had learned. They don't want us to leave, he said. They just don't want to be destroyed. The council members listened carefully. One of them, a wise elder with silver eyes, leaned forward. And you believe they can be allies? I believe they already are, Ryan said. Another member asked, why did they trust you? Ryan smiled softly. Because I didn't lead with force. I listened. I waited. I earned it. The council voted. The planet was marked as a protected world. No more drills. No more ships. Only study groups with permission. Ryan and his team were invited to speak at every major academy across the galaxy. Not as cadets. As leaders, their story was told again and again how a human climbed a tree, took command, and led the most advanced cadets to victory without war. On the day of the final ceremony, the High Commander pinned a new badge on Ryan's uniform. This isn't for bravery, the commander said. This is for wisdom, compassion, and courage under pressure. Ryan nodded, thank you. After the ceremony, Kira joined him outside. So, what now? We go back, Ryan said. To the jungle? No, to the beginning. To train the next generation. Vela floated down beside them. Teach them the way you taught us. Ryan smiled. Better. We'll teach them together. And so, the team stayed united. Not just as survivors, not just as cadets, but as a symbol. A human and his crew, once lost and doubted, had changed the galaxy not with weapons, but with understanding. And it all started when the human climbed a tree and took command.